Hi crafty friends, and happy International Scrapbooking Day! Tiffany here with another scrapbooking process video for you, and this is my fourth video using the April kits from the Hip Kit Club. I'm just going through and showing you some of the things I've pulled to use on this layout, including these mini placemats by Jelly Bean Soup and these vellum journaling cards from Studio Calico. This black washi tape is the only thing from my stash at this point, and that's also from the Amy Tangerine +1 collection. Just went through my paper selection there, and I'm going to start with this black and white diagonal stripe. This paper is called Buddy, and it's from the Amy Tangerine +1 collection, and it is in the kit. And I'm just going to use my sewing machine to stitch a line around the outside. I'm just kind of using it as an outline. And I'm going to go around twice with a straight stitch and then once with a zigzag stitch. And I'm just using normal black thread. I actually left white in my bobbin, which I normally don't do, but it is a theme for me right now. I was too lazy to change it. I am going to go ahead and cut out a lot of the sewing on this layout because there's a ton. So you'll see a little bit and then we'll kind of jump ahead like we just did. So that's the back of the layout, and I'm just using washi tape to secure the loose ends of the thread. And then I'm going to cut off the border strip. This layout, even with all the sewing, took me just over an hour, about an hour and 20 minutes to complete. And part of that's because it's a fairly simple composition. It's more like what I was scrapbooking a few months ago. So it gave me a little bit of pause, but I just wanted to get these memories down. So I am using these two 4x6 photos of our family on Easter Sunday. I am just about ready to have our third child, so I wanted to get this family photo of the four of us before that happens. And I'm just matting it on this black paper with the white hash marks, and it is called Duo from the Amy Tangerine +1 collection in the kit. And then I'm going to choose two papers to kind of mat behind it, and that's going to be this Orchid and Aqua triangle pattern. It's the loyalty paper from the Studio Calico Lemon Lush collection. I absolutely love this pattern. And the boys' shirts have some purple in them, so I was hoping to kind of pull that out. This blue on blue polka dot is from the Dear Lizzie Daydreamer collection, and it is called Jump Rope. There's some truer blue and some aqua in this layout, so I was hoping that that mid-tone could kind of pull everything together. And like I said, this idea of using two 4x6 photos as a single block and putting pattern paper behind it with a little less layering is something I haven't done a lot lately, so I struggled with it just a tiny bit, but I think it turned out great in the end. Here I'm just taking those pictures back off that mat because I decided that I actually want to go around all of the layering papers with a little bit of stitching. So I'm just doing a single straight stitch around all three of these pattern papers, and luckily I only used a little bit of ATG, so it wasn't too difficult to get that photo off. And I'm trying to show you the stitch, but it's a little hard to see. My camera didn't focus super well on that. So like I said, just going to go around each of these papers, and I actually end up trimming these down in a minute because I decide that they're a little too wide, but at this point I'm pretty sure that I'm going to keep them like they are, so I'm just going around each one of these. And I am no sewing expert. I got this sewing machine on Black Friday in 2012, and I've only ever used it on paper, so if you have questions you can ask them, but I probably won't know the answer. So again, a fast forward there, I used washi tape to secure the loose threads on the back of all of those papers, and now I'm just putting my pictures back on with a lot more adhesive since I realized that they just came right off. And here I'm looking at the composition and realizing that really I want those papers to be about that thick where my hands are. So even though I just sewed, I'm going to trim them down. The end result is what we want, right? It doesn't matter if it takes us a few extra minutes. And I'm pretty sure I cut out this entire sewing bit, or most of it. I'm just going to run one line down the edge that I cut there. So they're back to being sewn all the way around the edge with a single straight stitch in black. I apologize that this video is a little jumpy. The sewing takes me so long, and I just knew you wouldn't want to sit there and watch me do it for 20 minutes, nor did I want to try to think of something to say for that amount of time. So I'm just trimming up the hanging threads here and struggling with my washi tape. Trying to do 2 pieces at once is just, I am not graceful enough for that. That's all I can say. Alright, so the hard part is over. Here comes the fun part. So I've got those arranged how I want, and I'm going to glue this down right away because I know that I like the way that this looks. And I'm just going to use my ATG gun to adhere those, leaving some space on the edges so I can tuck things underneath. It turns out I didn't leave quite enough space, but you'll see me finagle, futz around with that a bit in a few moments here. I'm just kind of putting everything at a tiny little bit of an angle so you can get glimpses of the underneath papers without it being too perfectly straight. And now I'm going to start to embellish. So we got a whole pack of these Maggie Holmes style board frames in the kit, and I love them in theory, but a lot of them are rectangular, and I rarely print small rectangular photos. They also are very vintage and cream based, and I just have a hard time using that with such a bright white kit. Nobody else seems to have this problem. All the design team has done a great job, but I decided to try to recolor it. So I am using Hero Arts ink daubers. The first one I'm going to do is white, and the second one will be Tide Pool. And I'm just daubing those on the back, on the actual raw chipboard of this frame, and using my heat gun in between to make sure that the colors are layering on top of each other instead of just mixing together. And I actually really love the way this turns out, but it doesn't make it to the layout because the tone of this green-blue is really more green than anything else on the layout. But I do save it for a later project because I really like the end result. I may end up stamping on it too or something. So one of the things I knew I really wanted to do was use these vellum journaling cards from Studio Calico. I love them, and I haven't put them on a layout yet. So I've got purple in the bottom right and an aqua in the top left, and those are going to stay in that basic area. I also knew that I wanted to use at least one of these placemats, and I love this one that says hello, and it's shaped almost like a paper clip, so you've got a piece that kind of goes over top and a piece that goes behind. And I'm going to fiddle with this for a minute because the die cut word hello is a little hard to read on that black and white background paper, or over layers, whichever one it ends up being. So I'm trying to figure out if I can trim off the bottom of that vellum and put it behind the word. But I ended up deciding not to do that and to use the placemat horizontally instead. So pretty much decided that that's how that's going to go. And I'm just, again, fiddling with the placement of this blue one and trimming off the excess. And I decide that if I put that behind the word hello, I might be able to read it a little better. This is just the end that I trimmed off of that placemat, and I want to use it in all 3 clusters just as kind of a partial frame. And Nicole Jones from Nicole Jones 911 does this all the time. She does it brilliantly, and it's going to take me some practice because I have the hardest time. It looks okay right now, but I end up moving stuff around and it gets a little weird. It takes me a few tries to get those in a place where they look right. So anyway, now I'm going to go through all of this ephemera that I pulled, and I'm going to narrow it down quite a bit to just a few clusters. But anything that is cardstock is from the Studio Calico ephemera pack, and all of the vellum is from the Maggie Holmes style board vellum die cut pack. We got full packs of each of those with Hip Kit Club. And I already immediately love the idea of doing these 3 gold circles, one in each cluster, and layering some smaller bits above it. So I'm going with that idea, and I want to pull in some of this navy and some aqua and some orchid into each of the sections. So I'm just kind of trying to decide what's going to go where. I'm digging the butterflies because it's Easter, so I thought I could get away with that. And hearts and stars, and that is the very basic of how this whole design is going to go. I'm getting pretty close to the end here, so or at least design-wise. So I picked up the rest of those and put them back in my little bowl for next time. And I'm just going to work on adhering everything. I'm using my Scotch Quick Dry adhesive here, and I'm just using a thin line of it to glue the vellum down, and all of that adhesive is underneath the photo, so you can't see it. and I'm going to pop this up on some dimensional adhesive. This one is going to be on top of the photo, so I want to make sure that I use acid-free. I'm not terribly a stickler about it, but in this case I decided to use my good stuff. This is 3D foam tape from Best Creation, and I usually get it at Simon Says Stamp. And here's that silly piece of frame. I gotta figure out exactly how to put it that it's gonna work. I like it there, so that works out okay. And I'm gonna start working on this top cluster. That little tiny butterfly is vellum, so I want to kind of layer it underneath the star so that the adhesive doesn't show. And I have one of those huge rolls of Scotch foam tape, so I just cut off a few inch strip and set it beside me so I could trim little bits off for each of these little embellishment clusters that I'm going to pop up. I wanted to make sure that the heart that's stitched onto that vellum card was overlapping the photo cluster a bit, and that worked out well. Finally finding spots for all of these little bits of frame. I'm not sure I love where that one ended up, but it's okay, and it's down now, so that's what really matters. Moving on to this third cluster of little vellum embellishments layered on top of that pink circle. And one more time I'm going to pop that up on the Scotch foam adhesive. I got mine at Amazon, I think for $27 or $28. If you look there, they have it on sale pretty often with free shipping. This is going to take just a little bit of work to help all of the placemat pieces to fit in the layers. I'm going to have to lift it up a bit to get those where I want them to be. So they're layered over the vellum card, and that little spot in the middle is where I'm going to end up doing my journaling. Again, I want the stitched butterfly to be over top of it so that you can get a little more idea of layers. I'm going to glue that cluster down, and now I'm just folding up some of the wings of the butterflies to give them a bit more dimension. And that is pretty much the way that the embellishments work. I think next I'm going to start working on the title, which is going to be Family of 4. And I'm wrong. I'm putting down washi tape first. This is that narrow black washi tape from the Amy Tangerine Plus 1 collection, and this is from my stash, not from the kit. And I'm just going to put a little bit of it in each cluster to kind of draw, connect all of that black together. I apologize for my head in the frame. And now I'm going to work on the title. And I actually, my camera is going to die in just a moment, and I come back in and I record another section where I actually am talking you through everything at the same time, and I'm going to talk about that title in a bit more detail then. So I just want to say again, I think this is my 4th layout with the Hip Kit Club, and even with all the sewing and everything, it took me just over an hour to complete. And in just a second, I'm going to explain the rest of everything I do to finish the layout. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so you may notice that the film cut out there and now suddenly the page is done. That is because my camera ran out of batteries and I didn't notice it. So I'm going to try to run through the things that I added really quickly here. The first thing I did is the title, and this is that print shop in gray font that came in the kit. And the of is the LE Studio letters that came in the kit. I added some little trios of clusters here. This is gold from the Charmed by My Mind's Eye collection, and the purple is the Sprinkles by Doodlebug, and they're purple color. And then these black little gems, which if I tilt, you can see they're gems, they're shiny. Those are from the Freckled Fawn kit from this month. These brads, these white fabric brads, are also from the Freckled Fawn kit, and it's probably good that I wasn't filming when I tried to put those in because I put them over like layers of paper and pop dots, and it was kind of a pain. I don't do brads usually, but I really like these ones, and I thought that they were cute in the center of the butterflies, and they're kind of Eastery because they're like shiny, kind of satiny fabric. So I just added a cluster and a brad to each corner, or to each cluster rather. And then I did my journaling, which says, our last family photo as a family of 4. It's impossible to get a normal smile out of Jack. He's the little one who just is always making silly faces. I added our name down here, and that is the alphabet that came in the Freckled Fawn kit for April. It looks like this, which hopefully I can get less glare. And they're really cool because they are vellum and they're translucent. So let me see if I can give you a close-up view. You can actually see how they overlap, which I thought was kind of fun. And then I also added the flare badge. Oh, and over here in the Teresa Collins letters, I put Easter because the date, which is April 20th, is Easter, but because that changes every year, I didn't know if that would be obvious. So anyway, that's all I added, and that finishes up the layout. I'm gonna go ahead and give you some close-ups real quick here. And as always, there are links below to my still photographs on my Pinterest and my photo bucket. And if I remember to upload it, my Instagram as well.
So that is it. Happy International Scrapbooking Day, everyone, and I hope that you are taking some time to make something today, but I appreciate very much you taking some time out of this special scrappy holiday to spend with me. Have a wonderful scrappy day.